Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, Florida, that has been begging for cruise ships, has now also just banned cruise ships. That's right, in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Orlando and Tampa and Jackson, they are begging for the cruise lines to be able to start up again and revamp their economy and get things going once again. They've been out of work for 7 months and the ports are going bankrupt and the people around that rely on the jobs are just begging for it. But in this election that just went by, 3 bills passed in Key West, Florida. And that was the difference now that it looks like they're pretty much banning a lot of the cruise ships. So they've limited the amount of cruise ships that can go any given day to a maximum of 1,500 passengers can get off in Key West at any given day. They've also limited the size of the cruise ship to 1,300 passengers. And it sounds like a lot. But here's an example. Royal Caribbean Cruise Line doesn't have a single ship that would fit that criteria, which means Royal Caribbean cannot go to Key West with their fleet. So that gives you an example of, the difference that this can make. And that will let out most of Princess, all of Princess, most of Carnival, pretty much all the major cruise line, Norwegian, Disney. Even Disney can't go. Their ships are too large to go to Key West, Florida. And then the third one that passed was that they will now have the right to pick and choose which cruise ship they allow in based on its health and environmental practices. So in order to get there, they're going to, if there's 50 ships that want to go in, they have the right to tell the cruise lines which ones they're going to allow in and do. And basically the cruise lines are going, no thanks. Most of us will just skip you from now on. So that 1 million people that you had visiting Key West will no longer go there. But there are still cruise ships out there that do fit under the criteria, like Sea Dream Cruises and Oceania, cruises that are considered high-end luxury cruises. So smaller ships, everything included, those kind of ships, high-end ships that already sometimes go to Key West. They don't go there on a regular basis. They will stop the occasional time. It's not like it's nowhere near the regular capacity of what goes to those cruise ports. So it looks like we're going to see what happens there with all of that. But here's some kickers. CLIA, the Cruise Lines Association, has already said that they're probably going to, test this out in the courts because of the restrictive nature, and also legislating by ship could be taken out. They don't know how lawful that would actually be in maritime law and business law. How you can an entity can say that I'm going to pick and choose which of your vessels come in instead of you choosing which of your vessels. There is complicated law that's going to be looked at, and they're saying they're probably going to be launching some lawsuits and fighting this in court, as well as the port authorities in Key West have also said that they may launch tests in the court on this. Is also what to do, because there is an actual private port in Key West. It's privately owned. It's not owned by the state or run by the state. So does this new law restrict them? Because they can legislate for the cruise ports that they run, but can they legislate for the privately owned one? And again, all this will probably end up in the courts. But in the meantime, if there's no stay of execution on these orders, cruise lines are just going to stop going, and just they're not worried about Key West right now as far as a very big, huge port of call for the cruise lines. They're more worried about getting started and getting out into the Caribbean and then out into the Bahamas and Mexico and places like that, and then traveling to the rest of the world. Then they're worried about another port in the United States as an extra stop. You know, they could head down to Orlando and stop near Disney just as easy as going to Key West. So it's not as big. It is an interruption. They don't want to lose cruise ports anywhere, but they also, that's not their number one concern right now. They may try and get a stop on those orders, and if they do, then they can continue business. If they don't, they'll bypass them, avoid them, and that's it. As far as all the medium cruise ships, don't expect a big rush. Don't expect Sea Dream and Pondant or Oceania to go, wow, the big cruise lines aren't going there. Let's schedule 50 stops this year. That's not going to happen, because those kinds of cruise ships tend to travel to more ports. That's one of the draws that those ships have. The smaller luxury cruise ships are able to get into smaller cruise ports and out of the way places that the big cruise lines can't. And Key West isn't considered an out of the way place. You can drive there from Florida. You can get there from anywhere in the United States by land if you want to go. So it's not one of those big draw cruise ports. It's not one of those big draw for the luxury cruise lines. They'll make a stop on their way by, but they're not going out of their way to stop in Key West. And so we will see what happens. It could be, no difference. The Key West could completely enjoy this. Hey, no cruise ships around. Look how peaceful it is here and everything. Or a lot of the business could end up, I've just lost 60% of my business. I've lost 50% of my business, and I'm closing up and I'm going bankrupt and they're losing jobs. All that is yet to be seen because of these decisions. But again, all of these decisions, you can pretty much guarantee they're gonna go before the courts, because the cruise lines don't want to set a precedent of somebody being able to choose which ships you want to come into our ports. As far as, you can legislate how many cruise ships come into port, but you can't pick and choose which ships those are. We really like the Disney Dream. We're going to let it come in, but we didn't like the Apex. We're not going to let it come in. They're not going to let that stand. They'd rather just not go than let that happen. And if this stands, it sets a precedent for other cruise ports, and they aren't going to want that as well. So they're going to fight this, and then the state's going to fight back, and there's going to be this. But you got to admit, those people who are putting this on the bill and everything, getting the signatures, they really, really focused on the coronavirus in their campaign. Keep us safe. Don't let cruise ships here. Keep us safe. Look at all the things that happened in March with all the cruise ships, and what happened in California, and whoa, look what happened in Sydney, Australia. But if we don't have them here, we should ban them. Keep us safe. Keep us safe. And it wasn't about the environment. It wasn't about the state. It was all about the virus. Keep us safe. And they did a good job instilling fear on all the people in Key West who voted for this, because it won by quite a big margin. So I hope that wasn't your only criteria for thinking, because eventually this is going away. And once this goes away, I hope you're not second guessing your decision in the future, because once this is in play, and it's official, and the cruise ships start redesigning their years to where they're going, if Key West isn't in the bubble, it may take an awful long time to get Key West back in the cruise bubble. Because, you don't know what you've got until it's gone, as they say. Well, stay tuned for more court cases in the future. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.